Thank you, Maria. It's my honor and pleasure. I always love speaking to the Sutton Group. I've been at your conference before, and have also traveled to Toronto and visited with many of the brokers there before. So I know you have a great company, great culture, and just appreciate how kind and nice everyone is with the Sutton Group. So thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Imagine you're closing a house with a customer or a client, and they get up in the morning and they are told to wire their $350,000 to the bank or the escrow office, which they do. And they have a conversation with you about 2 hours later, and they say to you, "Hey, Dana," I'm picking on Dana, who's one of our participants there. "Hey, Dana, I just wanted to let you know I got your email this morning and I've wired the $350,000 to the bank." And I'm, of course, talking in US dollars. Uh, you can convert that to Canadian money, and I apologize. I should have known that in advance, but 350,000 US dollars. And Dana says, "I didn't send you an email this morning." And they have this sick look on their face saying, "Well, no, you sent me an email and told me to send 350,000 US dollars to the escrow office. And I did that today with the wiring instructions." So immediately you get on the phone, you call the title company. They're like, "We didn't send any wiring instructions." And lo and behold, the money is now halfway around the world in another country in someone else's bank account. That literally happened here in Missouri, the state that I live in, to a buyer who was purchasing a home. Now, luckily, because it was caught so quickly, they were able to stop the money from getting in completely out of the bank, and the bank was able to intercept that and get all of the funds back to the rightful owner. This is just one thing that we're dealing with when we talk about technology risk management. Unfortunately, people are out to take things from you and I, and we deal in such a high, expensive type of a transaction that is very lucrative for criminals to try to get involved and take advantage of you and our customers and our clients that we deal with daily. So I want to talk to you today about how we can try to make sure that we have the right systems in place and that we don't have to worry about someone taking our data and basically hacking into our customers or clients' information. So unfortunately, you'll probably be able to see me up in the corner, and I'm going to have my PowerPoint going. So hopefully we are sharing the PowerPoint now. But I'm just going to ask you the question: how secure is your computer? Hey, I get it. I just upgraded to the new iPhone 14 Pro X Max. I'm a technology person, just got it yesterday, and I'm having to go and re-log into all of these websites. And it's like, what password did I use? And unfortunately, many of us use the same 2 or 3. And I'm preparing for this presentation today, and I'm reading and doing research. And of course, I talk about this topic a lot. And I had to say to myself, John Mayfield, you need to really do a better job with your security, because the last thing we want to do is wake up and spend most of the day trying to uncover or fix a problem after someone has taken advantage of us. So how secure is your computer? It is a scary world out there, and like it or not, there's cybercrime that goes on every day. So this is going to be kind of conversational. And I'm gonna, I've broken it up into pieces and parcels that we can kind of talk about as we move through. So the first area that I want to really talk about, there's 4 different areas that we want to talk about, but I wanted to share with you some information from the United States on just how big cyber criminal activity is. Last year in 2021, there were 850,000 complaints for cybercrime. That's just technology. That's our computers and our phones. 850,000 complaints, totaling $6.9 billion in total losses. I mean, you can see these statistics right here. If you're a bad person, why wouldn't you want to hang out in this area and figure out how you can cheat people out of money? Now, I'm sure that encompasses all kinds of criminal activity, from false goods and services, but a large majority of it happens to small business owners like you and I. There are 10 common internet cyber attacks, and you can't read all of these. I get that, but I actually am covering almost every one of these items that we're going to talk about today. So let's just go in kind of a slow, like I said, I love to have kind of a conversational talk with you, but let's just take 4 of these of those 10 that I showed you. Let's just go to 4 and take a look at these 4 different areas, and then we're going to dive a little deeper into some of these. But the one that you've all probably heard about is called phishing. What is a phishing system? Well, you want to watch out for these, because what they're trying to do is they're sending out mass amounts of emails, lots of emails, and they're, just as this graphic shows, trying to grab someone who will fall for the bait, and they'll be able to get your credit card information. So how do they do that? And by the way, it's a big concern. It's one of the top concerns of the FBI in the United States. So how do they do that? Well, you receive an email. In fact, I was just talking to my son-in-law who works with me here. We run an online real estate school in Missouri and offer real estate courses in 9 states if you want to get your license in Florida or Hawaii, Missouri, and different states. And so Dan helps me, and we were talking about technology risk management. And I told him, there's only really a handful of things that we all need to do to be safe. And I have this example of PayPal. Here's an example of me receiving a PayPal email. And my son-in-law, Dan, said, yesterday, I got an email that looked like it was from PayPal, and it said that I had charged $400 in Bitcoin. And Dan said, it looked just like PayPal. And he said, I'm thinking, I didn't buy $400 worth of Bitcoin from PayPal. And as he looked a little closer, he found out that it was not from PayPal. So you'll get an email. Remember, this is a phishing scam. They're phishing for people to take the bait, and they tell you you've had a charge, or you need to dispute this, or whatever. Or if you didn't charge this, you can dispute. Click on this button down below, or click somewhere, a link or wherever. And when you click on the link, they want you to give some information. And when you give the information, they now have your data or a way to get into your system. You'll notice this email I received from PayPal wasn't even from PayPal. But had I clicked on that link and provided information, I could have literally, in one click of my mouse, had all of my data or personal information for PayPal or whoever. If I put my credit card in, the other party would have had that. Now, here's what I want us to think about, and I want you to understand, is that sometimes clicking on the link or the button in the email is enough to trigger the bad person to send software to your computer or your mobile phone, because we're going to talk about that as well, and the damage is already done. Because you clicked on the link, It's already infiltrating your computer and you have no idea. Now, if you have the right software, we'll talk about some of this, it could catch that and notify you. But if it's a brand new virus or it's a brand new vicious attack that they've come up with, the virus company may not know about that. It may be too late. They may be able to get into your computer, get your information, and get out. So you really have to notice and watch who is the email from. You'll notice here that an email from PayPal will be from paypal.com, not from notice.com. Okay. So you got to be real cautious and careful. Here is another email I received from supposedly PayPal, and all they wanted me to do was confirm my email and user information. Well, PayPal's never going to do that. And so you want to make sure that you really understand who the email is from. Here's one I received about doing a survey from Red Lobster. Wasn't even from Red Lobster. It was from ballplayer dot whatever, whatever. And so you can find these a lot of times by just going and seeing who sent me that. Here's an email I received from iTunes about a charge. I'm telling you what, when I saw this, I thought, I didn't charge $13.99 to iTunes. It felt just like an iTunes email. But when you look at who it was from, it's from a fraudulent website. So you have to be really careful and really cautious. Now, I'm going to share some things with you in a minute because we're talking about who's the email from, and I'm going to share with you some very frightening things that I discovered through some of my research. But the tip I want you to take away from is this: always ask yourself and verify, who is the sender of this email? Now, here I am, and I'm going to be very transparent with you. I'm a technology teacher. I love technology. I'm teaching you about technology risk management. But during COVID, we had, in the United States, had the opportunity for some government assistance as a small business owner or as small business owners. So I was working with the Small Business Administration to apply for one of the grants, had submitted the information. I was waiting to hear back, kept waiting. Naturally there was a backlog because lots of people were applying for these grants. And one morning I woke up and I had an email from the Small Business Administration. And it said, we need some more information before we can finalize your application. And I thought, like most citizens, really the government, I thought I did all of this right. So I click the link and they're asking me information, and I'm typing the information in. And the whole time I'm thinking, I know I gave them this information. What's going on? And then I hit submit. And then I said, did I look to see who that was from? Now, I had already hit the sent button with my routing number, my bank account number, everything. I went back to the email and I looked just like I did. I'm showing you. I looked in the who it was from. It was not from the SBA. Well, I called the SBA. And no, they had not sent that out. So then I called my bank, immediately had to close my bank account, stop a lot of information, notify the credit bureau that my tax ID number could be jeopardized. Probably spent a long time that day, along with worrying, because I didn't verify who the email was from. Now I'm confessing my sin to you, okay, my error, but it sure taught me a lesson that I need to check and see who the email is from. So even your instructor and your teacher today, can get fooled by some of these things. So I'm just warning you, you got to be very cautious and careful. So always look to see who it's from, because what they're trying to do, if I'm using this analogy, is they're using your computer or your phone as a way to find out if there's a door unlocked to your financial and private information. And if they can get in that door, they're going to steal your information, and away they go. So, I just want to remind you that the bad people are out there, and they're using technology, they're using the internet to try to take advantage of you and me. So that's the first scam that we wanted to look at, is phishing. Now, naturally, most of us, many of us, well, I say most of us, I got hooked into the phishing scam. Um, and you may be asking, John, how did you get hooked into that? Well, the criminals probably figured out, I'll go back to that last criminal, that person right there probably figured out that, you know what, there's lots of people applying for SBA loans. Why don't we design a phishing scam that says, um, we know you're waiting on a record, we're trying to finish your SBA loan request, and we need some more information before we can finalize your application. Now, they know, that person knows 10,000 people maybe didn't even apply for that SBA loan, but they know there's a certain percentage, if they send those emails out, there's a certain percentage like myself who have applied and who are wondering what's taking the government too long. It's COVID. Nobody's buying real estate, and I could sure use some help right now. And so I fell victim to that scheme. So you got to be real careful. So phishing emails could even be, we're going to look, they're using our phones as well. And so the next one is what they call vishing, with a V, vishing. And vishing, I need to go back to that. My apologies. Vishing is basically voice. That's where you get the call, and the person says they're from Microsoft, and your computer, your virus is expired, your antivirus is expired, or they've detected something on your computer. But basically, vishing has to do with them calling you and just trying to get your information by phone. Now, you might think, most of us, John, don't fall for that. But my mom, when she was alive and in the nursing home, and she was on the computer, she got a call, and they were telling her they were from Microsoft, and she needed to update something, and they were wanting all this information. And my mom luckily knows I know a lot about technology and helped her. She called me and said, John, I got this call from Microsoft. I had to say, Mom, that's a bad call. Do not take those. But again, they know it's a numbers game, and if they make enough calls, they're going to find somebody who will fall for that. So I think many of us on this call realize vishing is something and can spot that, but we have friends and family members and others who may not know that. So be very cautious. Now, the big one that's picking up a lot of steam today is what they call smishing. I don't know who comes up with the names. I didn't come up with those, but smishing is text on our phones. We're all on our phones, aren't we? Win a free iPhone, click here. Or this one here that they use in the United States is, you're under criminal investigation. This is actually came in on my phone. For more information, call this number. Again, if they can just get you to click on the link to respond, sometimes they can get right into the information about your phone. So you want to be real careful with phishing, vishing, smishing your phone. Don't click on links or on websites or buttons if you don't know who it's from. And always verify who sent you that message. So important. Now, Farming is kind of an interesting concept, and you really need to be cautious with this because what they do with farming is they actually, if you can see from this graphic, is they set up a false website on top of another website. So they actually can hack into a website. And when you go to that web address, it redirects you to the bad website that looks just like the good website. And you put in your credit card information and your password, and they can now take your information. So how do we stop that, or how do we avoid a website that's not true? Well, first of all, if you have the right virus software, antivirus software on your computer, that will help. But secondly, if you look down in the bottom corner, or if you look at the web address, you really want to look for what's called HTTPS for security. And down in the bottom, you will sometimes see a little lock where it says secure, but you really want to make sure and understand and look around that you're dealing with the right website, because sometimes they can manipulate and change these, and you have to be real careful. A lot of times, um, if you get an error message that says this connection is not private, Google and others have determined that's not the actual website. And so a lot of times it's not a good idea to continue to click and move forward, because the web browser you're using doesn't feel safe taking you to that website. However, they can still manipulate and make things look like everything's fine, when in essence, it's not. So it is a scary world out there, and we have to be very cautious. Now, a big thing that's happening to a lot of small business owners is called ransomware. And, you know, I was teaching this class in Springfield, Missouri, and a young lady who was on the fourth row, who was probably 25, 26 years old, raised her hand when we were talking about ransomware. And she said, I was at the Starbucks here in Springfield. She named the street, and I always stop and get a Starbucks when I'm there. And she said, I was in there having a coffee, getting some work done, and the ransomware popped up on my computer. Now, her company paid for they paid the ransomware to get the computer unlocked. So what is ransomware, as we kind of look at this graphic here? Ransomware is really when let's see what, there we go, is when your computer has had software downloaded into it, or somehow you clicked on a link and they were able to gain access through that door. And so all of a sudden, they can now shut your computer down, take it hostage. And as you can see here, you pay the money, or they'll destroy all your records in your computer. Now, here's what I want you to know about ransomware. First of all, it's becoming bigger, okay? It's been big, and they've really targeted larger corporations. So the girl who was in my class happened to work for another company, and that's whose computer she was using, and that's the company that paid for the money. I think it was something to do in healthcare. The bad people were going after just larger corporations. Now, many larger corporations have figured out how to stop this. And so they've put a lot of measures in place. So it's kind of dried up the well for the bad people. Now they're realizing that small business owners are more susceptible, because you and I do not have the measures put in place. And so they can come and go after us, and we are easier targets. The other thing that they're doing, and I read this a few months ago, and I actually have seen some videos on it, is they are licensing their software to other bad people so that they can use it and go after small business owners or anybody they want to. Basically, if you think about that, someone has developed a ransomware software that can shut your computer down unless you pay money in Bitcoin, by the way, which cannot be traced. And now they're like selling it to other bad people, licensing it to them so they can go out and use it. So ransomware is becoming a very big issue, and your files become encrypted, and there's no way you can get your files back unless you pay the money through Bitcoin, which cannot be traced. And so what do you do in that situation? Well, we're going to give you some options here, but it's a big deal. And you can go search the internet and you can see people are getting hacked, small businesses are getting hacked, and it's a problem that we have to be aware of. And so I'm going to give you a tip on, we're going to come back to ransomware. I've got some tips to help you with all of this toward the end. But I just want you to know ransomware is a big issue, and they're coming after smaller businesses. And so if you're not careful, it could happen to you. But I'm going to give you some ways to safeguard your computer and some ways around it. The other thing that is really kind of creepy and frightening is that people could be watching you anytime on your computer and you don't know it. The light may not even pop up on your computer. And so people are watching you, and I can tell you stories about hackers who hacked into two girls' computer in a dormitory, posted it on a bulletin board, and over 200,000 weirdos were watching these girls as though it was a live webcam 24/7 in their dormitory room, everything they did. And it was posted on this creepy website for hackers. And these girls had no idea all of these people were watching them at all hours of the day. I've got videos that I normally show. In fact, I show when I'm teaching a CE class on this topic here, where, and if you watch the video on this, it's just frightening, where they put a baby monitor in their daughter's room and the guy's yelling vulgar words over the baby monitor. There's other videos I have where literally they've done news stories where people had Ring doorbells or various types of security cameras, and people were able to break into those and watch different things, what was going on. This is a video I normally show where a Ring hacker, they had a camera in their daughter's bedroom, kind of one of these security cameras, and a Ring hacker broke in and taunted the young lady, and they actually had it on the recorded video. So you've got to be real careful about how that happens and understand that this is a big deal today, and people are actually hacking in. I actually went to YouTube and I just typed in how to hack into a webcam, and believe it or not, videos popped up. Now, they're trying to sell you the software so that you can go out and try to hack into someone's webcam. But this is a big deal. And I mean, you know, in my local community, just 2 weeks ago, there was a man who worked for the city who bought these webcams, tiny webcams with the city money. He had installed one in his house, and he had a young man who was living in the basement, and that's the young man who found the camera in the bathroom, alerted authorities. But here's the really creepy thing. This guy that they arrested who worked for the city worked for the Parks and Recreation Department. They can't find the other cameras. So literally our community who knows if any of the public restrooms in the parks or wherever could have these cameras installed. They found the software on his phone. They found the videos on his phone. They were able to, and hopefully he'll tell them where the other cameras are. I'm only telling you that story just to say, I'm in a little old rural community of Farmington, Missouri, and we've got people, this was a nearby town, by the way, Deloge and Park Hills, but we've got people here who are doing these types of things. This is a big deal, and we've got to be really cautious about that. So your camera can even be on without the light. So, I encourage you to put some blue painter's tape when you're not using it. I actually have this little device here, and I can put this right on top of my camera, and so now I can keep that off. So I would do that. By the way, if you're an office or an agent, you can buy these little gadgets branded with your Sutton logo and your name and phone number, and have them, as a security device so that they can put that over the camera. I've seen those handed out at a lot of trade shows, and it's actually a pretty popular item, and a lot of people don't realize that. So be careful about that. Now, I'm going to come out just for a second because I want to talk to you kind of here, and hopefully you have me on the big screen or speaker mode or whatever. I want to talk to you for a second because yesterday when I was driving to Jefferson City, it was Monday. Today's Wednesday. Monday, I had a meeting in Jefferson City. So I'm listening to this really good podcast call from Dan Kennedy, and Dan's an online marketing person, and he had a guy on there who was talking about authority marketing. It's a great podcast. If you want the link, send me an email. I'll give you my contact and I'll send you the link to it. It was called Authority Marketing. And this gentleman was talking about how we can dominate our local market by being the authority or providing information. And why I wanted to stop and come out here is to say, all of these items I'm talking about, many of you may already know about those, but you know what? Your consumers and customers and clients may not know about those. And so there's some great content and information that you could share in a newsletter, a note, a card, or just when you call up to visit with them. So I think there's just a lot of people don't know that their webcam can be on with the light not on, and how frightening that could be. So just wanted to give you that even though we're going through this, if you kind of remind yourself that, you know what, I think there's some really good opportunities for me to share some of this content with people in my sphere of influence that can be very beneficial for you. So use that blue tape. Just kind of understand that people are trying to get your information. Now, let me give you 4 quick tips. I'm going to give you many more here, or a few more. I know our time's limited, but four quick tips. Because remember, I told you earlier when I was talking to my son-in-law Dan, I told him, I said, Dan, there's just really a few things that if all of us followed, we would be safe online. So number 1, you need to install an antivirus software. Okay. Make sure you have that on there and make sure you keep it up to date. I used to use a software called ESET Nod 32, and I was having some trouble with it, but I think I'm using what's called, and they took phonics out of school when I was a kid, but it's Kaspersky, Kaper, Kaspersky. I really like it. And by the way, you need to get one for your phone as well, because they will come after that. Make sure you have a firewall. Many of your Sutton offices, I'm sure, have that, but even at home and on your computer, you can turn your firewall on. And you know what? Go to YouTube and you can probably find a video about how to turn a firewall on. And then keep your software updated. Generally, the reason they want you to update your software is because they have been told about a leak, or one of their people have discovered a flaw or a leak. And so you need to update your software and keep that updated. And then again, don't open email attachments from people you don't know. Don't click on links from people you don't know. Verify who that email's from, because it could be from someone you don't even know. So I think that's very, very important. Now, one of the other items that I really want to stress to you is this: Wi-Fi is a big deal. And 80% of small businesses are hacked through their Wi-Fi. It's kind of funny because um, I mean, I was so excited when I had all of my computers in my office hardwired, and then Wi-Fi came in. And so we put the Wi-Fi router in. And you know what? Today, here in my office, we went back to hardwire. Now we have Wi-Fi, but I'd rather have my computer turned off and be connected via a hardwire, because I don't know if someone's hacked into our Wi-Fi. So you got to be real careful. And you really need to be careful on public Wi-Fis. That's why it's called public. Now, I was going to put a slide in, and I apologize I didn't, but I use a software called Express VPN. It's a virtual private network. Anytime I travel, anytime, I'm always logged in through my VPN. In fact, a lot of times here at my house, I still go in through the VPN. If I want to watch, if the St. Louis Blues are playing the um, Montreal Canadiens, I guess Montreal. I haven't followed hockey a while, so I hope the Canadians are still a team, because I always liked them. I think Canada had better hockey names than anybody, and I always loved the Canadian hockey team names. So, but if I wanted to watch the St. Louis Blues and they were playing at home in St. Louis, I can use my VPN to go through Canada and watch it through the Canadian. See, I'm going through an internet. So the internet thinks I'm from Canada. So a VPN, a virtual private network, and it's like 79 bucks a year, and you get it for your phone, your tablet, your computer. Now you can log in and you're virtually unnoticed, okay? Because you're going in through a different network, and people on that local Wi-Fi you're on have no idea. But here's what the bad people are doing. They're actually pushing, if I'm a bad person and I'm in the airport and we're on the public Wi-Fi and you're not on a VPN, I can literally go in and find you on the network if you're sophisticated enough. And I could say, oh, there's, Maria, I'm going to just go into her computer. I mean, there's ways they can figure out how to crack into your computer, and they push Maria an update that says her Adobe Flash Player or her Microsoft Word is out of date, or she needs to update a common software we use. And Maria clicks on it in the public Wi-Fi while she's on the public Wi-Fi, downloads it. And actually what she just downloaded was the bad software that I wanted her to download, that now put software on her computer that sends me back every website she's visited, every keystroke she makes, any and everything she's doing, possibly even giving me remote access to her camera with the light not being on so I can watch what she's doing. That's how creepy some of these people are. So when you're on public Wi-Fi, do not download any updates. Just wait till you get home, okay? Unless you're on a VPN, a virtual private network. And I would really encourage you to look into the virtual private network, because it's very, very important. Now, we were talking earlier about phishing scams, and I just wanted to tell you what NAR, I mean, it's still a big deal. And I watched a video and read the transcript of a video this morning. I was just, as I said, I wanted to research, make sure I didn't miss anything new, and I hadn't, but all I did uncover was uh, that it's still out there. It's still a big deal. And so here's how these hackers, you think, how could someone send $300,000 to the wrong bank? What happened in this scenario that I read this morning, and it was 180,000 US dollars, is that the two attorneys were sending correspondence. One attorney worked for the buyer, one worked for the seller. One of the attorneys' email account had been hacked. That's why you need to update your email addresses regularly on your Gmail or your corporate email account. Once they hacked one of the attorney's email, they were following the correspondence. They were reading the emails. When they saw that wire transfer instructions were sent, they immediately sent a new email stating, "Oh, sorry, we sent you the wrong instructions. Please disregard. This is the correct email." They wired the $180,000 to that email. Here's what the hacker did. Remember I said always look to see who it's from? They had used the attorney's name, and at the end of the name, for instance, my email's John at mayfieldre.com. They maybe would have put John1 at mayfieldre.com or John D at mayfieldre.com. And so it looked, and actually they were using a Gmail address. So I should have maybe John at gmail.com. They would have used John1 at Gmail. So it looked real similar to that. But you've got to be really cautious on these. I'm telling you what, that you just read these stories all the time. And if they can hack in, they're going to take advantage of you. Rental scams are still a big problem. If you have a house that's empty, actually, I have a house that's for sale, and I got a message the other day where a gentleman had posted it on a Facebook online for rent. And I had to immediately go to Facebook and report it as a scam. So we just got to be really cautious and careful. Another item I would encourage you to do, and I don't have a slide up, but if you'll write this down, is go to Google Alerts, ALERTS, Google Alerts, and you can set up a Google Alert. So what you can do is set up a Google Alert for a property address that you have listed. And anytime that property address is mentioned online, Google will send you an alert in your email box, and you can look to see, is this something I should be concerned about? But we've got to be very careful. Rental scams are a big deal here in the US, and with Airbnbs still becoming a big problem. I just saw an article my wife was sharing with me the other day. People had bought a home in Delaware, and the people showed up and someone else was moving there. They had rented it online. And, the problem is sometimes the police don't want to get involved in some of these issues. Another scam I read about this morning is this. They're actually talking or they're actually using Zoom meetings. Now get this, and there have been people who've been scammed and wired money to the incorrect place. So imagine I'm closing a loan with Maria, and the bad person knows this through Gmail, and they've maybe even seen where I've done some online meetings with Maria. Again, they're reading my emails. They're watching what's going on. So they know I've done some Zoom meetings with Maria. And so they send Maria a Zoom meeting invite. And when she gets online with me, I send a chat message and say, "I'm sorry, my video camera and audio is not working. I'll have to chat with you. I need you to wire your funds to this account number and this routing number the escrow agent just told me." And people are actually falling for that. So, I mean, These are the things that we have to be cautious about. So if we're going to live in a technology world, let me just close with giving you some tips and things that you need to be aware of and how you can prevent some of this. Number one, use a strong password. Really, you need 12 characters or more, a phrase, whatever, and you need to change it regularly. Okay. And I need to do that myself. I'm going to be very honest with you. I have some strong passwords, and you always want to use symbols and uppercase and lowercase with you. You don't, a hacking software can go through and look at words in a dictionary and crack into your password in no time. That's how quickly they can do that when I was mentioning that on a public Wi-Fi. But if you're using 12 characters or longer with symbols and upper and lower case, it would take years for software to try to figure that out. At least that's what I've been told. So always use a strong password. I always jokingly say, but it's kind of true, I use Bible verses with symbols and I figure if they're going to crack my password, I want a Bible verse that might make them feel really bad, okay? Or get them out of the bad side of life and over on the good side of life. But we've got to even be careful about our password hints. You maybe don't want to say that you went to that high school, because you know what? They could pretty well figure that out. Or don't use your dog's name, because I can go on social media and find out what your dog's name is. So use a strong password generator. A lot of people use this LastPass, and I'll be honest, I'm going to check about it today. Securing your laptops, believe it or not, there are lots of stories where the bad people are not trying to break through on Wi-Fi. They're just breaking into offices. There was one up in Seattle not too long ago. They just broke into the real estate office, grabbed all of the laptops and left. Well, now they can go back to their own little wherever and take their time getting all the confidential information. There's software solutions that are out there. There are locks you can have for your computer if it's at home. Just understand they're trying to get that data that's on your phone or on your computer. And really, Maria, we probably have a whole nother conversation we could have about what to do with the files and the confidential information that's on your computer or phone after you close the deal. But just remember, mobile phones they're picking up going after our mobile phone. So make sure that you update your mobile phone, back up your computer regularly. Carbonite's good. I'll tell you what I use in my office right here is, if you can see this, I have a little portable hard drive. This is a 5 terabyte, so I can partition it. And part of it has some important files I need, but the other side actually is what's called a time machine for my MacBook, and it duplicates everything that's on my MacBook. And so I plug it in once a day or every couple of days just to back everything up. But there are solutions out there, and actually Carbonite works just like a Dropbox. So it's kind of cool. And if you had Carbonite and your computer was backed up, you wouldn't have to worry about the ransomware. You could just tell them to go jump in a lake, reformat your computer, and update from your Carbonite files. So it really is a great way to get rid of Carbonite or get rid of ransomware. So make sure you're backing up regularly and you have your data backed up. Monitor what's going on diligently. That's why I use like one credit card online, because I can monitor that card a little bit more regularly about what's happening. And then they say it's actually a good idea to turn your computer off at night when you leave the office, because if you leave it on and it's up, even if the screensaver's on, if someone's outside your building and they can crack into your Wi-Fi, they could possibly get into your computer. So just shut it down, leave it off. Be careful with email, texting, surfing the web. And you know what? Educate yourself. You're doing that today, and I commend you for that. But educate yourself, be proactive. and I think you will do just fine. So any questions you might have, if you need to reach out to me, I'll put my email address in the chat box for you. But any questions they have, Maria, I'll be glad to.
Thank you, John. I think like the keynote that you share with us today, it's very important. We were facing some of the, like, you know, the situation that you shared today. Probably most of the agents, they know that, like, you know, especially with the email address, they were just receiving some fake emails. If anybody has a question or anyone wants to share something, just you can unmute yourself and then, yeah, you can ask the questions to John. We have like a 5 to 7 minutes just to complete the session. So feel free to do it. Thank you very much. And then, yeah, go ahead. Okay. Do we have any questions? Any situation that you want to expose? Or I think with the tips that John shared today, it's clear that it's happening around the world. It's not only the Sutton email
Right.
that it's being facing. We receive a lot of like, you know, complaints because sometimes it's difficult to understand and to identify. Yeah, go
I
ahead,
think
Sharon.
Sharon,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, hi. Hi there. Sorry. So I joined in a little late, so I don't know if we're getting a copy of the presentation or not.
Yeah, I
And
can provide that too.
yeah, so Maria, so I'm in Quebec. Okay, so we do mandatory training, and particularly about technology. Here's my I think it's a simple question. I keep hearing about encryption, encrypt my computer. I'm technology, duh. Okay.
Yeah.
But is there something we have firewalls. I'm very careful. That being said, is there a way that I can encrypt my email or just encrypt everything and I don't even know what that means? Okay.
There,
I just know that it's a good
yeah,
thing, but I don't even know what it means. And I don't
that's a
want it to
great
be
question.
complicated on the other side. Do you know what I mean? Like when I'm
Yeah,
sending something. That's
that's
my
a
question.
That's a great question, Sharon, and thank you for asking that. Yeah, how do we encrypt that? And actually, you may have noticed with my PowerPoint, I don't know if you saw the top part, it said shorter version. When I teach, and a lot of times associations and companies will bring me in to do because it's really, when you talk about technology risk management, it's to do it justice, you almost need a couple, 3 hours to really go through that. And Sharon, I talk about that in the longer version of the class. It is kind of complicated because what encryption does is it scrambles everything up. And the only way you can unscramble it back to where it's used to be is if you have the private key. And that encryption, we have encryption on our cell phones when we send messages to people we know, but I have several slides and I took that out of the slide deck because I thought it might be hard to explain and I might get kind of down a rabbit hole.
Okay.
However, a lot of the title companies here in the states that I deal with and banks, they you get an email that's like from their encryption software. And so you have to log into um, their portal, and then you read the email and you reply to them there.
Yeah.
But there are some softwares that are available for you and I that can encrypt our email messages. And I can look those up. I just unfortunately didn't put that in the presentation, but that's a great question. And it's one to definitely for you to look at, and because it adds a layer of protection.
I'm going to look into it, but I'm also going to put it out there to Maria because I mean, you're on the other coast, right, Maria? But just in terms of Sutton as a whole, or maybe Sutton, Quebec, I'm just wondering if there's anything that we can learn more about encryption, just because I'll be honest with you, this presentation, I was expecting it to freak me out, and freak me out it did. It always does when I do a technology course session, but I'm trying to look for, I want to say an easy answer, and I don't know if encryption is part of it, other than just constantly putting new protection softwares, you know, McAfee and just everything. It's a lot. I'm just trying to find a simple thing that I can do. And I need to learn more about encryption is what
Yeah,
I feel.
it's a good question, and it definitely is something we could do more, you know, at a later time. But or Sutton may want to look into that. Whether it's easy or not, that's why a lot of people don't use it. Is
That's my
because
concern.
it does make it, you know,
Yeah.
it takes up our time, and unfortunately, I think that's why we all tend to use the same 2 or 3 passwords because it's like, oh gosh, how can I remember all those passwords? So.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Sharon. Thank
We
you.
can
Thanks.
definitely set another add to the agenda for maybe next year to another session with John. We will definitely need this kind of like knowledge and experience, and especially because no many of the agents they are familiar with the technology. So definitely we probably add another session so he can probably guide us like how we can do it, what is the next step, or maybe suggest another thing that we can be familiar with.
Fair point. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sharon. Does anybody else has
I
another
think
question?
Valerie had a
Mhm.
question.
Yes,
Did you
go
have a
ahead.
question, Valerie?
Yeah, I wanted specifically to know about the phone because I get on my laptop and I try and, get the protection happening and all that, but there's not a lot I know about how to protect. I use an iPhone and
Yeah, and
I
one of the things I do talk about, that's a great point, Valerie, is and I'm not pushing Apple over Android. They're both very good products and systems. Apple does tend to vet who can put a software on their platform. And so you do have, I feel, a greater degree of safety or security with using an Apple phone because Android's philosophy is the opposite. They say, hey, we want to encourage development. We want you to put your apps on our Google Play Store because we want to see how creative people can be. Apple's a little bit, no, we want to make sure that we know what you've developed before we let our Apple users use it. And the problem you run into there, Valerie, is for Android software is the fact that, and I've seen news stories on this, where there may be 2 flashlights in the App Store. One is free and I'm just using flashlight. One's free and one's paid for. And so most people go for the free one. And what they don't realize, it has all of this spying software in the back end that's sending back what you're doing on your computer. So you do have to be, if you have an Android phone, don't panic. Just make sure you get antivirus software for it. They make that. And like the Kaspersky that I have, I think I have a license to put it on my iPad and also on a mobile device. Well, I have an iPhone, so I'm not using it on that. But we still need to be real careful about, what we're clicking on, what we're downloading, and be cautious in that respect because they could try to attack you through a text message, and that software could be designed just to infiltrate an Apple iPhone.
okay. Thank you.
Great point. Thank you.
Well,
There was a couple in here. Is there any extra tips for protecting my phone? Oh, that was from Valerie. Yeah. And we covered that. Should we trust password apps like iPassword sold in the App Store? Actually, I think a lot of those are good. Dan, what's the one that you're using? Bitwarden is one that my son-in-law uses and really likes. And I've heard good things about LastPass because it kind of coordinates with your phone and different ones. So yeah, I think if you see a password app, look at it, read the reviews, maybe dig a little deeper on YouTube and find out. Not that I'm pushing YouTube, but don't we go there now to find out all kinds of information? So and a lot of times you can find out people who've reviewed different things on there, but good question, Stephanie. Thank you. Yeah. And I love what Azim said there. I'm going to try to do some more research on some apps and things, and I'll try to send a little video clip, Maria, that you could send out to your people and
Of
there'll
course.
be no no charge for that, but I'll do some due diligence for you on that topic of, because I'm curious about it too, Sharon. What is out there for those of us who use Outlook or Gmail? So let me do that, because I try to send out some tech tips, and that would be, I was mentioning that earlier about the authority marketing, and that same podcast I was listening to earlier on, he was talking about using your database for email. And I'm really into this online marketing, and I love to talk about that. But my wife had asked me, we were listening to that, and she said, "Are we doing that for our school database?" And I said, "Not like we should." So I've started sending a newsletter out, but what I'm finding is I'm trying to put more valuable content in there for people. So this would be a great video for me to do for my newsletter subscribers. And if you want to subscribe, just send me an email. I put my email in there, but I'll make sure, Maria, you get a copy of that and you can forward it out to all of your Sutton groups. So,
Yeah,
because I
definitely.
agree, we don't want to wait too long. That could be.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to get that done for you in the next week. Okay.
Thank you very much, John.
You're
Okay, no
welcome.
problem. Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
It's 11 o'clock here in Vancouver time, and I think on the other part it's like 2 o'clock. So thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you very much, John, for
You're
this
welcome. Thank you.
conversation. Well, hopefully we can see you next time. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. And reach out to me if you ever need help or have questions. I'm always available to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Have a good day,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye.